everyone. Welcome back to the Gen Z Show. I'm your host, Jamie. And since it's the season of love, February, we thought, why not, talk about one of the most important relationships in your life? And no, we're not talking about romance. We're talking about your career and your job. If you've been feeling stuck, uninspired, or just not as excited about work as you used to be, well, this episode is for you. I can totally relate to this episode because I get it. There are days when work feels exciting and fulfilling, and there are days when it just feels like a routine. I've been there too. But just like any other relationship, your connection with your job will have its highs and lows. And what the good news is, you can fall back in love with what you do. Sometimes it just takes, a fresh perspective, a new challenge, or even small changes in how you approach your daily tasks. And that's exactly what we're here to talk about today. So if you're ready to bring back the spark in your career this Valentine season, let me introduce our speaker. So, to help us unpack this, we have an incredible guest today. She is the founder, chief sales strategist, and sales consultant of Supremo Sales Consultancy. She, on the other hand, also is a two times $1 million roundtable MDRT. Um, consistent platinum medallion awardee, senior vice president at Macaulay, and a member of Club Elite, and also the top one advisor branch of 2019 to 2020. And she's also a powerhouse in real estate. So please welcome Coach Yel Oropesa. Hi, Coach.
Hi, Jamie. I'm so glad to be here. And actually, this topic is actually very, very, very close to my heart because it talks about love, uh, with the job, something that I've been very, very, passionate about ever since. So yeah, let's begin.
All right, Coach, let's get right into it. Thank you so much for your time as well for joining us. I know a lot of people can really relate to our topic. So yeah, let's start with the first question. A lot of professionals, Coach, experience phases where they feel disconnected from their work. In your experience, what are some of the most common reasons why this happens?
So I want to go back to the reason, or well, the explanation of WHO, or World Health Organization, of what burnout is.
Mm,
So they explain it as a chronic workplace stress that's not at all managed.
mm,
So this does not apply to other areas of your life. That's why you also run to your personal life or maybe vacation and all of that, so you can get out of this burnout phase.
right. And sometimes people don't even realize they're heading towards burnout or job dissatisfaction until it's too late. So can you tell us, Coach, what are some early signs that someone should watch out for?
Yeah, so of course there are three actually that you should be looking out for. The first one is energy depletion or exhaustion. That's why you get the feeling that, oh, I might need a second cup of coffee or a third cup of coffee. Second rather, is the mental distance from one's job, where you already feel negative, or you feel a sense of cynicism whenever you think about the company, even the activities, and so on. The third one is reduced efficiency or productivity when it comes to job.
Right. And once someone starts feeling disengaged, Coach, sometimes it's easy to spiral into negativity. But sometimes a simple mindset shift can make a huge difference. But as easy as it sounds, parang it's really hard then to switch your or to shift your mindset into something positive. So what small changes in perspective can help reignite someone's passion for their job?
This is quite a lengthy discussion, Jamie, but I'm actually very, very excited to share this. Most of the time, the reason why people are getting burnt out is because they seek out a sense of extrinsic motivation. Meaning, do you know how you have this hobby, say, um, knitting, painting, and then you turn it into a job. You turn it into a job where at a point it becomes exhausting already because you seek out for money. That's the extrinsic motivator. So let's just define what extrinsic is and intrinsic. So extrinsic, of course, are those that you get out of the what you do, right? So that goes for money, which is the most common since we're talking about work or jobs here. Money, let's say it's awards, even recognition from your managers, even parents, so these are all extrinsic motivators. What I want to introduce here are actually intrinsic motivators. So if you have these intrinsic motivators, this is where you start to begin understanding where burnout comes from, because you forget how these were the intrinsic motivators that fired your spirit way before you actually went to the job. So yeah.
And one way people try to re-energize career is, by setting new goals or taking on fresh challenges. How can doing this make work feel exciting?
Setting new goals. Let's say whenever you set new goals, you have to let's go back to the intrinsic motivators. I'll share with you five. So the first one is mastery, the second is autonomy, the third is purpose, the fourth is curiosity, and the fifth is autotelicity. Yeah, so the first one actually is mastery, right? So whenever you actually master a certain a certain job, say in my case it's sales, it becomes a sense of wow, I'm so good at this, I'm the best at this. You go into meetings and you just know you're gonna close it. You'll be able to challenge yourself further and further and further, and that feeling of wow, I'm so good at this is already a great motivation, great intrinsic motivation for you to move forward. You'll realize actually that the love for your job uh doesn't always happen, but that feeling of wow, I'm really good at this. Being really good at your job motivates you to actually love it. So it's actually the opposite. You realize first that you're good at your job. That's why you end up loving it. So that's a mastery. So let's go to curiosity. Curiosity is a sense of wondering where your work will lead to. So I personally, when I started out with my job, I was just curious because technically there wasn't any. First, I didn't have any background. Second, I didn't have any environment before that. So I was very curious how it worked. How come people earned this much when it comes to sales? I didn't understand. So that curiosity really, really led me into asking so much people. And it's because that curiosity, that intrinsic motivator, that led me into further understanding and further even loving what I do. So actually, you'll be surprised. These intrinsic motivators were uh were actually began with curiosity. They were figured out because of curiosity. So there. The next one is autotelicity. Autotelicity, do you know how where you play your own music just for the sake of playing it, not really for you to finish it, doing something for its own sake. So where the line between the work and play starts to blur. You know how you can stay up until 2 a.m., 3 a.m., even 5 a.m. just to keep working because you really, really, really just love your job and you can't stop thinking of new ideas. You can't stop thinking of new tasks to do because that's autotelicity. This is where you say, like, you have a new job, a new venture, what you feel about your company excites you again. So, and then next is actually we have purpose. So, purpose is understanding that this is something beyond you. Knowing that your job, what you do in your job, is actually bigger than who you are, than who you'll ever be. I remember this story. It's very famous. I think you also know this, Jamie. There's this janitor in NASA. He was asked, "What do you do in NASA?" And his answer was, "Oh, I'm bringing a man to the moon." So you understand that even though he was a janitor, he was part of that really huge accomplishment to mankind. Lastly is autonomy. Autonomy is feeling the sense of understanding where these are mine, or having a sense of control or sense of ownership there. Sense of ownership, control over your actions and decisions, where your manager doesn't exactly dictate that you should do this, you should do that, micromanaging you, but in a sense that I have the creative power where my career is going to go, where my next activities are going to go. So I know that's a very lengthy again answer, but you mentioned about goals and you mentioned about uh, activities where you can begin. I think you start with a very basic. You start where all those intrinsic motivators will come from. You just pick with one of those. You start really with one of those, and then you move forward from that.
Yeah, I think I'll fall to the mastery, the
Mm.
mastery, because it really ignites me to be
Yeah.
better with in my job. So of course, coach, motivation isn't just personal. I mean, workplace culture and leadership play a huge role in how engaged employees feel. So from your perspective, how do a company's leadership and culture impact an employee's connection to their work?
Very huge, actually, very, very huge, JB. There's this thing, of course, that I love. The concept of five people you're with, you're the average of five people you're with. So your environment also dictates whether or not you're going to succeed. They have to be very, very supportive and very, very understanding of your creative freedom. When it comes to the culture of the team, it may be a good culture, but sometimes it may not also speak to you. That's why sometimes you also don't succeed with it, right? So it's also a culture match between you and the company. Now, there are environments where they help you thrive. They help you become who you are by meeting you where you are. And that's really, really very important.
Right. And aside from big picture changes, can you tell us, coach, what practical steps can employees take in their day-to-day work to make their task feel more fulfilling? This is for all our listeners right now. I think they're experiencing this kind of scenario as well in their everyday lives.
Again, we go back to the intrinsic motivators. What I would suggest, actually, I hope my our listeners would really do this as an activity. Really sit down, list down everything, every single thing that you think is motivating you. And then figure out, now that we know what extrinsic motivators are and the intrinsic motivators are, figure out which of those are extrinsic and which are intrinsic. So you have a clear view of who you are when it comes to motivation. Look at the intrinsic. motivators, magnify it, figure out which ones are you are willing to, or you are more interested to begin with again. So as if you are starting again, because when it comes to burnout, or when it comes to all these extrinsic motivators, it dies down. Extrinsic motivators get the sense of, oh, I'm not I'm not interested anymore to earning this much, even though it's as big, or as I hope. But there's just a sense of negativity already. You're coming from that sense of, oh, this again, that again. I just don't wanna think about it. But I hope with your daily activities, with your small activities, you get the feeling of that excitement where you started your job, let's say
Mm,
with curiosity. I'm very curious what I can do more. I'm very curious how I can level up. I'm very curious how I can make this job mine when it
right.
comes to autonomy, and so on and so forth. After a while, you realize those five intrinsic behaviors will be all yours. Like,
Mhm.
you'll be practicing all of that. So you begin with those.
Right. And you know what, coach, we all know that the people we work with can make or break our experience. So
Mhm.
from your perspective, how can building stronger relationships with colleagues improve job satisfaction?
There's this study from Harvard. They studied, I believe, like more than 80 years. And they studied basically the economics of happiness. What makes a person really, truly happy? And they they studied men from from when they were children until they grew older. So there were some who fell out, they weren't really into it anymore. But those that stayed, they realized some actually went into politics, some were really, really, really successful. But what ultimately was the answer to being happy is actually being in good relationships with everyone around you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you are actually successful, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy. But if you're happy, doesn't necessarily mean that you're successful.
Agree.
So if you are happy, if you are in that good environment, I think it's very important. We have this thing in the Philippines where we call pakikisama,
Right.
or just a sense of understanding each other, where they come from, just being there for them. Sometimes we don't always have to put our our personality or where our mind is. We just need to listen to them. Really, just have a good relationship with these people.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've encountered, coach, people who have completely turned their work experience around. Can you share a success story of someone who found joy in their job again after struggling with disengagement?
Yeah, in sales, it's a lot of extrinsic motivators, right? Awards, first off, second, money, of course, um, all of those things. And usually, top performers on the first year fall out because they get burnout, they feel a sense of this weight on their shoulders whenever they even think about doing tasks or activities. But once they realize that they have a different goal other than the extrinsic motivators, for example, they start understanding that their goal is more for peace, really, and their goal is more for their family. They do this type of job so that they can spend more time with their family. So it's no longer extrinsic, it's more of my purpose. Let's say with an intrinsic motivator, my purpose here in this job is actually to be able to provide for my entire family and to see them really, really, really stable, that they can go and achieve whatever they want, and maybe even let your team feel the same. Your Yeah, just like that.
And for those listening, coach, who might feel, stuck, uninspired, or unsure about their next steps, what's your best piece of advice for professionals who wants to fall back in love with their job?
I would recommend really writing down first things that you are grateful for. Not necessarily for your job, but everything that you're grateful for. As small as, I'm glad burgers exist, like everything that you're grateful for, just to little by little give you that sense of love for life.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's go to that love for the job, where you begin understanding or redefining what your job is for you. And I know, like, I sound like a broken record when I keep on saying the extrinsic and the intrinsic motivators, but trust me, these are really the answers, as long as you go back to the basics. And that's one more thing, you go back to the basics. A lot of people, like, uh, they don't see it as that important. That's why
Mm-hmm.
they just disregard it. But really, if you go back to the basics, you'll realize those are the things that will make you a master of your job. Really, really, right, Jamie? So
Yeah.
if you feel that, then you again, you begin with the gratitude with everything
Mm-hmm.
you have in life, and you go back to what you are grateful for with your job, fall in love with your job again. And you start with the little activities. Everything is so overwhelming already because you feel like, oh, I have to perform this much again. So just so I can receive this much again. But in reality, you don't have to overwhelm yourself with thinking that. We go back to the or the idea of playing a song just for the sake of playing it, not for the sake of finishing it. So just start small. You want to see what is the best thing about your job? Like, what's the best activity you love about your job? Is it social media? Is it, bragging?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways. So yeah, that's what I would suggest.
I really love that. And I think one thing that really stuck with me, coach, is how small changes like focusing on impact, your whys, even like yung playing a little song for yourself, or looking for something to be grateful for, it can really, make a huge difference in how we feel about work. And sometimes we get so caught up in the routine that we forget to see the value in what we do every day. So thank you for that, coach. Actually, before we end this interview, do you want to promote something about your services, where they can follow you and all that?
Yeah, so I produce a lot of content. I am on all social media platforms. I am on YouTube, TikTok. I am also on Threads,
Mhm.
Instagram. You can also search me up. I'll be producing a lot of podcasts on Spotify. Yeah. So aside from that, from social media, I also had a consultancy company. It's Supremo Sales, where we help people train, coach. We have one-on-one, we have trainings. You can check out what we do. We are based here in the Philippines. So if you are from the Philippines and you are looking to increase your sales, regarding if it's a company or you own just a business, a salon and whatnot, or a personal your personal sales, let's say you're in real estate, you're even in as a financial advisor, will very much love to have you. Lastly, we host these trainings where you just sign up.
Mm-hmm.
So just check out our page. It's Supremo Sales. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for that, Coach Shell. I think we will just put the links
Yes,
in
yes.
our comment section so that people can follow your social media accounts and connect with you. So yeah, thank you so much, Coach Shell. That's a wrap for today's episode. Again, huge thanks to Coach Shell for sharing such powerful insights on how we can, reignite our passion for work. So whether it's shifting our mindset, setting new goals, or reconnecting with our, why, there's always a way to bring back that spark in our career. So, for those who are listening right now, if you feel disconnected from your job right now, don't be too hard on yourself. It happens to be the best of us. So, what matters is what you do next. So, start small. Find joy in the little wins and surround yourself with people who inspire you. And if you're looking for new opportunities, whether, where you can truly thrive, don't forget you can apply through the Tachi Career app today, available on our App Store and Play Store. So, thank you again, Coach Yel. Thanks for
Thank
tuning
you
in
so
to the
much.
Gen Z show. So, my name is Jamie. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and make sure to subscribe for more conversations that help you grow in your career. Until next time, keep pushing forward and stay inspired. Thank you.